What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of A Place for Humans podcast. I am your host, Dakota, and this is episode 27, and we're getting up there. I think this is episode 27, maybe 28, 27, something like that. But in this episode, my friend Jar comes on to have a conversation with us. And Jar is, he's one of my good friends. We toured around the country with a rock and roll band called Issues. Jar was their videographer and photographer, and that's what he does for a living. He takes videos and photos for bands and artists in the music industry. And he came with me to India, where we went on some crazy adventures and met some cannibals, and we tell a lot of wild stories about that, and you get to see some footage and stuff for those of you guys that are watching over on YouTube. And if you're watching on Spotify or iTunes, hello, welcome, and make sure to leave a positive review over at iTunes for me, A Place for Humans. So yeah, this is a fun episode, and Stick around for this one, because you'll get to hear some cool stuff about hanging out with cannibals. That's one of the craziest adventures I've ever been on. And Jar was there for that. And I've told that before on this podcast and on my YouTube channel. So it's really interesting to hear the perspective from Jar. Jar was the one that was filming all of this. So yeah. Well, enjoy. There you are, Jar.
Have you ever heard of champurrado?
I don't think so. What is it?
It's like a flour-based drink. It's very thick. It's got hints of like cinnamon, and it's very sweet. And yeah, it's got flour in it too, so it makes the it's very thick. It's a very thick substance, and it's very hot. Like you can drink it hot, and it's very good. I would highly recommend it.
All right, I'll check it out next time I'm in Mexico. You know, I never told you this, but I can see. Well, I was gonna say I can see you're Mexican, obviously, but I can see that you have like you look like you have Aztec or Mayan ancestry. Do you see that? Like when you look at like old Mayan carvings and stuff like that they depict? Do you see yourself in that?
Sometimes, like when I wear my hair up and I leave it kind of like the back kind of.
You have Mayan features for sure.
Yeah, I definitely see that. And then like my nose, I think it's just over time, it used to be straighter, but it started to like kind of grow a little bridge here because of my glasses. And that definitely helps with the overall look.
Yeah, that's badass. The Mayans are badass. Did you ever go to like Teotihuacan and sort of do that whole thing? Like go check out all the pyramids and stuff in Mexico?
Dude, I've never even been to Mexico.
You've never been to Mexico? Why? You live like an hour away.
I know. I've been everywhere else, not Mexico.
Wait, how? Well, because your dad's Mexican and your mom's Guatemalan, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And your dad's never took you to Mexico? Did he tell you stories about it and stuff?
He grew up in this pueblo called San Luis Potosí, and it's like this. I guess where he grew up, it was like a very poor area where they didn't even have like street lights or anything. So it got like when it got dark, it got real dark. And he told me all these crazy stories. He like told me that my grandma used to sit by her window, and you're going to love this because you love this kind of stuff. She used to sit by her window and she would hear La Llorona in the middle of the night. La Llorona, you're familiar with La Llorona?
No, what is that?
La Llorona is a story. It's an old Mexican story. It might not just be strictly Mexican. It might actually just be a kind of a Latin American thing or that kind of thing. So La Llorona is essentially the story of this lady who had kids, and I guess she was mentally ill, and through like despair and depression, all these things, she ended up drowning the kids. Oh no.
Jesus, you think you're like, oh, you'll love this story.
Well, no, you'll love it because it's like a paranormal thing.
Okay.
It's like one of those legends,
I love
paranormal legends from Mexico.
El Chupacabra.
Yeah, not because this lady was in despair and she drowned her kids. I think the story is her husband. Dude, I'm totally gonna butcher the story, but okay. I think her husband like they split up, and she became really sad because of it. So she drowned her kids in a river, and then her spirit like went on years after to her spirit kind of like roams the streets and like the cities in Mexico, and
Jesus.
she says mis hijos, mis hijos. She like cries mis hijos, which means my kids, because she's so regretful of her vile act. You know, so yeah, that's so my grandma. My dad told me that my grandma would tell him that she could hear La Llorona. But then again, you know, who knows? But I'd like to think that.
Do you have any like any inspiration inside of you to kind of explore your ancestry?
100%. Yeah, I've always wanted to go back to Mexico. I guess go back to
Mexico, Guatemala. Guatemala is badass too. Guatemala is filled with old Mayan pyramids and stuff like that. Probably more than Mexico, I think.
Yeah. I actually had an idea to go to Mexico before Father's Day and capture where my dad grew up, because he would tell me all these stories growing up. So I wanted to go to San Luis Potosí and capture where he grew up, capture his house, capture his like take pictures of his like school and like this tunnel that he told me that he like him and his friends and his brothers would go in there. My uncles would go in there and they lit up a kind of like a stack of tires, like car tires, and the smoke became so intense. And it was a very long tunnel too, but the smoke became so intense that they had to run out of the tunnel. But they were already pretty deep in the tunnel, so them trying to get out was like a mission, because they were like doing this and they couldn't breathe. And he said it was one of the stupidest things he's ever done. And they easily could have died. But yeah, like I want to go and capture that tunnel and like all these different memories that he tells me about. My dad grew up very poor, like very, very poor. And so he's kind of naturally a very humble guy.
I saw a picture of your dad and it wasn't what I expected him to look like.
What did you expect my dad to look like?
I don't know, just kind of like, I'm not sure. But your dad's got like tattoos and it's kind of buff, right?
Yeah, well, he's I wouldn't say buff, but he's fit for his age, and he recently finished his sleeves. Yeah. He's got some pretty cool art. He's got my name right here. Nice. He's got like my siblings' names, like right there, and then he's got like my mom's name and his mom's name, who passed away in 2002. He's got like the dates she was born and passed away. So some really cool stuff, like very, very wholesome stuff that he's got in his arms. Yeah, that's cool. Do you have any tattoos yet? You never got any tattoos, right? Yeah, I got this one. It says Low Life. When
did you get that? You didn't have that when we were on tour, did you?
No, I got it in maybe I did. No. I got it in April of 2019.
Was that Warped Tour we did the last Warped Tour? Or was it
that was the last Warped Tour, the last full cross-country Warped Tour.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, you and I, that's where we met. We met on Warped Tour.
Yeah, I guess we should explain that story. I guess we should also kind of give a little bit of backstory about who you are. Do you want me to do that, or would you like to do that?
I'd be interested in hearing you try and
okay.
Try and do that.
So this is Jar, everybody. Do you want me to call you Jar, or you want to be called Jose?
Yeah. You can call me Jar.
Okay. Or
no one calls me Jose.
What I call you on the behind your back, the Pito Papi. Yeah, me and Jar. Well, Jar is a photographer, videographer. He has done some stuff with some cool bands that you probably listen to. He's got a good jacket selection. Let me think. What else?
One of my favorite jackets you bought me, actually.
Oh, from H&M?
Yeah, from
what else? You're yeah, well, you're just a pretty overall dangerously spicy individual, I'd say. I don't know what that means, but what would you say? What would you say about yourself?
Yeah, you did a great job, I think. Yeah, I agree with all those things. I'm a photographer, videographer. I do have a spicy jacket collection, and I am overall a pretty spicy guy. Yeah, no, I
you had blonde hair at one point?
I did, yeah. I had blonde hair for like 6 years.
It looks cool.
Thanks. I like this now, though.
Yeah, black is good.
I like it really.
Yeah, and we met on what was known as the Vans Warped Tour. That's a music festival that is ran, or it was sponsored by the shoe company Vans. And they ran it for 25 years, I believe, right? Did we make it to 25 years? 25 years they made it. And we were on a bus with a band called Issues, and Jar was filming Issues for the summer. And that was a fun summer, dude. That was a really good time.
That was like a movie.
That bus was a legendary bus. We had this badass tour bus with blue lights. It had a shower in it that was cool. Did you ever use that shower?
We had a shower on that one?
There was a shower. I only used it once, I think, or twice. But there was definitely a shower on there.
Yeah, I must have used it a couple of times as well.
What was the driver's name? Who was the driver? Oh, it was that old guy. Yeah, it was that old guy. I remember now. I forget his name.
Was it the guy that almost got kidnapped?
I don't think he got kidnapped. How did he get kidnapped almost?
He was like getting an Uber and like Sky was getting an Uber, remember? And
oh wait, with some hillbillies or something?
Yeah, and it was like in a sketchy place where like people of Sky's skin complexion would have a rough time being in, like I guess stereotypically speaking, like it was like some deep part in the South, I'm assuming. And he came back to the bus really kind of shooken up because I'm gonna butcher the story because I
don't really remember either, but I kind of remember.
Yeah, but essentially, you know, Sky plays bass in Issues, called an Uber, and I guess his Uber drivers were kind of hostile towards him, and Sky's assumption was due to the place where he was in, and also because he's black, and he assumed that they were racist, which was probably a spot on assumption. And then it was like an Uber pool, so the bus driver was actually called an Uber as well around the same time. It ended up being him. They shared the ride together, and they, I guess, having the bus driver in the Uber car helped the situation. But Sky was like afraid of getting kidnapped.
Yeah, that's
Is that right?
Something like that. Something like that.
Right?
Yeah, something like that. What are like some of the most notable artists and bands that you've worked with? Like when you are kind of giving your kind of business thing to people, like who are the bands that you name drop that you've worked with?
Notable as in like in terms of their fame, or like what would be recognized?
In terms of their popularity and their fame, and maybe like the biggest tours you were on and stuff. And then stuff stuff that you're most proud of to have worked on. Yeah,
well, Half Alive is the name that just comes up.
Yep, you were with those guys for a while, and you got some really great shots with those guys. Like the one with the
thank you,
with the ball,
the orb,
the hands.
Yeah,
that one's really cool.
They're great, man. Yeah, they're the singer. He's the whole band, and so the band consists of three guys: a bassist, a drummer, and Josh, the singer. But they all kind of wear different hats throughout the set. Like you'll see them playing like the OP one, and then you'll see like the bassist playing keys as well. And then the singer, Josh, he'll also play forget the instrument, but he'll play something else as well throughout the set. So they're all very, very talented. They're all classically trained as well, which is a pretty cool thing. And Josh, the singer, he went to film school, but he dropped out to pursue music, I believe. So he's got a film background. So working with him and collaborating with him was like really interesting because he brought a lot of ideas and techniques and strategies to the table that I wouldn't have otherwise have been able to accomplish. And cool. He's got a very particular vision, and he always he always refined what I did in a way where at the end of the day it ended up being like really cool, and it ended up making everything just super easy to accomplish because of him.
And you went all over the world with those guys.
Yeah, we did a world tour. We went to like Australia, New Zealand, Europe plenty times. We did a full North America tour. And that took around like 4 months of my life, of their lives as well. So we shared a lot of time together, and overall, just a really great experience. When you share that much time with someone, it's like you start to ask yourself like, well, how is this going to play out? What relationships are going to be difficult to manage in a small space or whatever. But at the end of the day, the crew, everyone they were like family.
Yeah. We managed pretty good too on Warped Tour.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, everybody. Even though, a lot of us had very big personalities, I think I think we all complimented each other. And then you brought a very, very calm and a very calm vibe to the bus, and like you brought like a lot of good energy, and
that's cool.
And I think about that a lot.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
You did stuff with G-Eazy.
That's
the one I brag about. Like when I brag about my friends to my friends about you, I'm like, yeah, he's done stuff with G-Eazy and stuff, no big deal. And G-Eazy with Jimmy Kimmel, like a big thing, right?
Yeah, and like two other features. It was like Yo Gotti and YBN Amir, which are like two big rappers in that world. Yeah, that was like kind of like my first step towards doing something that's outside of the rock industry, which was really cool. I did some behind the scenes for G-Eazy in 2017. And that was really cool. Yeah. But it was like I did a couple more things for him, but it was just kind of like a one-time thing because I was touring so much, and so I really couldn't take on any more without risking the integrity of the projects at hand and remote working on stuff that's not has to do with the tour.
What was the first tour that you did?
I went on tour with this band called Dependence. My friend Osvaldo, who's my next door neighbor at the time, he had a record label, an indie record label. And through this indie record label, he would host backyard gigs at his house. And he would have bands come out and like tour through. He would like give them an opportunity to perform at his house, and he would like host them and stuff. It was a really cool thing he was doing. And he was a good friend of mine at the time, and I would still consider him a good friend. And this band called Dependence came out. I came out and filmed just for fun. This was in 2015, middle of 2015, like summer 2015. I just graduated high school. I kept in touch with the band, and then like December of 2015, their singer messaged me on Facebook and was like, "Hey, we're going on tour. We want you to come out and just kind of do your thing." And I was like, whoa, I've never been on tour before. I have to think about this one. So I approached my parents, and I was like 17 or 18. So I was pretty young. Yeah, much like yourself, you started out really young too, right?
Yeah, about 18 too, I think. 17, 18.
Yeah. So I told my parents about it, and they were aghast. They were like, what? You're going to travel the country with some strangers in a van? And, the typical response you would expect. Which, like, bless their hearts, I think they were just looking out for my best interest, and they were kind of like worried because I wasn't going to college. So I completely, I'm empathetic to their response. I ended up going on the tour anyway, and it was a great time. We hit a deer. That's one of the craziest tour memories I have. Jesus. My very first tour.
Did it explode?
A deer. Yes, it did. All of its. We hit a deer, and we were in the middle of Wisconsin or something like that. Or Minnesota, and we there's
you
a lot of
did
deer
it on purpose?
No, Dakota.
No.
We were hungry. We were starving, and we had to find some food. No, we were driving in the middle of the night, and deer in those parts of the country, deer just run
everywhere.
And so, it was like the right place, right time, or wrong place, wrong time, depending on.
Yeah, I never hit a deer before, but I once saw I saw a dead body once and I didn't actually see it get hit by a car, but I seen the body like afterwards.
Oh, dude, I've seen that too. My dad's a truck driver, and when I would go on trips with him, there would be fresh accidents that we would see just driving through the country.
I seen 2 dead bodies in my neighborhood. One of them got hit by a car, and then the other one, I guess they said he killed himself.
Whoa.
It was just like some bald guy, and like I got some like railroad tracks that run through my neighborhood, kind of like on the outside of my neighborhood. And the guy was just next to the railroad tracks. Like my mom was going to work, and she seen the body, and she called me, and she's like, "Hey, I'm coming to get you real quick. I got to show you something."
Oh my gosh.
I was like, "Okay, what?" Like she wouldn't, and she didn't tell me what it was either.
She was like, I know you're gonna like this.
Yeah, right. And so she picked me up and took me, and it was just like a guy, like kind of hunched over, laying there, and he was bald, and yeah, he was just a guy laying there next to the railroad tracks. There was no cops or anything. He was just there.
Oh my gosh, that's terrifying. We saw some dead bodies.
Oh, we did see some dead bodies for a second there.
Yeah.
I was like, we did, but yeah, we did see some dead bodies.
Yeah,
we got to watch bodies burn.
Yeah, like actually, that was rough.
Yeah, talk about it.
We went to India.
Yeah, we were in India.
We met on Warp.
What year was that?
2000? We met on Warp Tour. 17.
Fuck, it's been a long time, dude. It's 2020 already.
It feels like it was just yesterday.
Yeah, I feel like it was just last summer.
Oh no, not 2017. I'm sorry, 2018.
Okay.
2018.
That's still,
I was like, whoa, that's still a long time. Yeah. Well, we met on Warp Tour, and you and Kyle, David Hall were planning on going to India, and after over time we kind of became close, and the conversation came about that
we wanted you to go.
I went too. And so I went. So you booked my flights. I went with you guys, and we went through New Delhi, Varanasi. Well, we ended up in Varanasi towards the end of it because of.
What did we do in Delhi? Did I take you to like the Islam district in Delhi?
We went to I don't know if it's called a monastery. No, not a monastery.
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 Like a temple.
Sorry,
like a temple.
A temple. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's where Kyle got his ears cleaned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. This guy, there's people that side hustle on the streets of India, and they have all sorts of trades. But this guy in particular, that was his profession. He would go around cleaning people's ears. And we held Kyle at gunpoint, and we forced him to get his ears cleaned for the content. Dude,
I'm excited for those videos to get done one day. I even kind of like it. I even kind of like that it's been so long, because it's going to be like even more exciting to see it when it's done. But
just marinating in the over time. It's just marinating, and it's juicier and juicier.
So in India, there's this holy city that's called Varanasi or Benares, and this city is, I think it's actually the oldest inhabited city still to this day. It's the oldest continuously inhabited place.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay.
I think so. Someone can Google that and confirm if I'm right or wrong. But so in this place, this is like, I think it must be one of like the biggest civilizations of India, because it's right on the Ganga River. So it's, usually civilizations spring up around rivers because, obviously you're going to live by the water for all your needs. So it makes sense that like they revered the river and stuff like that this tradition got passed down of revering the river. So people want to die next to this river, because they believe taking like a wash in it clears you of your sins and washes your karmas away. So this is like a holy city of death, they call it. It's the city of Shiva, who is the god of, they kind of call him like the god of like the destruction aspect of the universe. That's what Shiva represents. And there's just people, all Hindus from all over India want to die there and be burned next to the water. So the place is filled with dead bodies, and we got to experience watching that.
Yeah, I remember the first time we saw it. It was we went up to the Burning Ghats, and we met a friend there who kind of like gave us a tour of the Burning Ghats. The Burning Ghats are essentially these structures that contain like these human ovens. And as we walked up there, we were kind of like, I remember thinking like, what's in those things? It can't be what I'm thinking. And then there was a point where the guy went up to one of the ovens and he cranked the lever and it lifted up the cover, and all you could see is like a human body burning. And we saw like the feet, and we saw it kind of the meat falling off the dude, it was pretty rough. And I remember that night.
They got the ovens, and then they got the ones that are down by the water that are just piles of wood. Do you remember those ones?
Yeah, that's right. And they wrapped the part of the ceremony is they wrapped the bodies up in like this white towel blanket. They paraded around the city chanting, I don't know what they chant, but they chant something.
Ram Nam Satya Hai, and I think that means Ram Nam, that's God is Ram, Nam means name, Satya Hai, Ram's name is true. Ram's name is
Hmm.
true. I think that's what they're saying or something.
Mhm.
God's
Yeah,
name is
and
true.
that makes sense. And so once the bodies are kind of paraded, they take them to this other structure. And I don't know if this structure was holier or like more special than the burning gods. But essentially what they did is in the ceremony, and we watched this all from above, from one of the burning god towers. And they went up to the body and they cracked the head open to release the soul.
Yeah, that's
Remember that?
yeah.
And I remember looking at you, looking at Kyle, and us being like, "Oh, what is going on?" Just in complete disbelief, just a culture shock, and like not in a passing judgment way, just like this is not something we're used to seeing in the West, obviously. So obviously we're going to be shocked. Like obviously we're going to be like,
And the heat.
oh yeah, it was so hot. It was so incredibly hot.
Yeah, that's a crazy place. And the crazy thing about it that like when I think about that place, not so much that like experiencing it is wild to experience that, but the fact that it's like going on even now is what blows my mind. It just doesn't
Yeah.
stop. That's every single day for thousands of years. And remember when the guy took us to see the flame, the sacred flame that's been lit for 3,000 years or whatever?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's right.
they light all the bodies with that flame. And there's 130
Yeah.
people or something that keep this flame lit generation after generation.
We went under and we started to tear up because of the intense smoke. And we walked outside and this guy came up to us and he was like, "You're crying because it's cleansing your soul."
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But it's also like, yeah, maybe, but it's also really just smoky in here.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe.
But maybe it is. Who knows?
Crazy place.
I definitely felt my soul cleansed that whole
I've
trip.
told the Kashi Baba story so much on this channel. I think people, okay, so a lot of people know the Kashi Baba story, but I think like it's time to hear it from like someone else's perspective. I would love to hear like how that was like structured and packaged in your head, that experience.
So to give you guys a gist of who Kashi Baba is a pimp. He's a real baller.
He's a hustler.
He's a hustler. Yeah, he's this guy.
I was just gonna say he is insane, and he's a hustler to the point he will do anything for money.
Yes. Yeah. So this guy, he's kind of a character. He's an older guy, probably in his. It's hard to say because a lot of people in those harsh environments, you tend to kind of age faster.
Yeah, you'll meet someone that's like, you'll be like, oh man, like, do you have kids and a wife and stuff? I'm like, nah, man, I'm 16. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah. So Kashi Baba, let's just say he's like in somewhere around his 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
Older guy, very frail, very.
He's 21.
Yeah, he's a very fragile guy. But we met him because we were on the stairs near the burning ghats and the Ganges, like right across the Ganges River. And that same night when we walked by like 3 bodies burning, remember? It was a night we walked by 3 of them, and he kind of showed us and stuff. That was crazy. But anyway, we sat down with him. We asked him a couple of questions. And it's funny because the night before, we interviewed someone else, and they were like very articulate in a lot of ways, like the way they were explaining the history of Varanasi and the history of the culture and the religion, the religious aspects of it. Yeah, I believe so. He was very articulate, but when we would try to get him to elaborate on these talking points, he couldn't. And so I had a suspicion that this was like a rehearsed script, which respect, by all means, like get your money. It's hard out there, and I'd probably do the same in a similar circumstance.
Absolutely.
And so we interviewed Kashi Baba the next day.
Because he was like, I can introduce you to someone that can help you with your film.
Yes, exactly. And so we interviewed Kashi Baba, and we started to realize about halfway through the interview, at least I did, I don't know about you, Dakota, but I started to realize that we were hitting the same talking points in the same order as Mr. Boat Driver.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, this is a, this is a scripted thing.
Yeah, that they all
Yeah.
have.
But Kashi Baba was different because he could elaborate.
He spoke
although
good English.
He stumbled in his words. He did elaborate on a lot of these things that we couldn't get the other guy to elaborate on. So I remember he told us that the BBC came over and did an interview with him, and he meditated on top of a dead corpse for their documentary. And so we went to India with the intention of meeting this tribe of people that are very, I guess, rare in India, and they're called the Aghoris. The Aghoris. They're like a death cult. No, not a cult. No, a death. Dude, I'm gonna get canceled. Can you elaborate on that?
Okay.
You know a lot more.
Well, the thing is, like, I called them. People get mad when I explain it too, because I called them the dark side of Hinduism. And I didn't mean that in an offensive way. I just mean like they embrace the dark side, where most spiritual paths kind of push that away, and they're all like rainbows and like fucking sunflowers and stuff. Where the Aghori, they're like, they embrace death. They cover themselves in ash. They carry human skulls, and they're just like, it's like the darker side of spirituality. And
what is their intention again? It brings them closer to God or something?
Yeah, so there's this idea in Hinduism that we identify with this false sense of self, which they call, or like what we call the ego. It's that we take on this position that we are, I'm Dakota, I make YouTube videos, I'm this, whatever. I grew up in these circumstances. We take on this storyline, and
it's identity.
We take on this on an identity that ultimately is just like a memory. It's not really ultimately who you are. Like, it's not who you are in this moment. It's just like a storyline that you gravitate to and hang on to, so that you make sense of the world, which is, it makes total sense that we do that. But the thing that some of these spiritual practitioners and stuff have realized is that there is a part of us that actually transcends that part of who we are. And like, when you get past the ego, or like the identity, you have like a transcendent experience that is full of bliss, and it's profound to have an experience like that. So these guys are seeking that experience through spiting what they want. So like, say for example, like you would want, I'm craving a really good meal or something right now. They would eat something disgusting just to spite their ego. So they're trying to overcome all their desires. They're trying to overcome all their attachments through completely just like chopping the head off their ego. So it's a really kind of powerful path. And I mean, you'd have to be crazy. It would make you crazy to do that. But I'm sure those guys, imagine the experience those guys are having in life. Must be such a bizarre.
Yeah, probably.
Must be so bizarre.
I mean, lots of discipline, lots of, I mean, it's almost honorable in the sense that
they've eat bodies. We've had them telling us that they've eaten bodies.
Yeah. They don't like, the way I've explained it to people, they're like, is that all they do? I'm like, no, they don't like wake up and make breakfast with a pair of hands. It's more of like, these are ceremonies that take a lot out of them, from what I understand, and it takes a lot out of them. They go into like this deep prayer and meditation to try and prime themselves to get to those points, so they can commit these, not commit these acts, I guess.
Yeah.
But to do these sorts of things.
These very primal rituals.
Yeah. Kashi Baba, I'm actually not sure anymore if he was an Aghori.
He said he was, but he's not.
Yeah. So he offered us to meditate on top of a dead corpse for our film.
I think it was $150 is how much he requested.
Yeah. So he had a price. He had a rate, a going rate. And I looked over to Dakota, and we kind of went, yeah. And so we tried to meet up with him the next day at 10 a.m., but we couldn't find him. Remember?
I do remember. And then we went and got breakfast.
Back. Yeah.
At that one place. Wait, I don't remember where we got breakfast.
The hotel, the top of the hotel.
The top of the hotel, and that's where it was the place that had the opening where it kind of looked out at the water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that place. That's what I thought too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
we always got like something rice or something. That's
Something
the only thing
safe.
you could eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we came back the next day and we found Kashi Baba. He was a little late though. And I think that's how the story goes. And then we took a boat out to the shore.
Have you told people these stories like on tour?
Yeah, plenty. I've told the story to, I've told the story. Well, I never no one ever asked about it, and it's always it's an interesting thing to talk about, but it's like you're not gonna. This is a very kind of difficult story for some people to listen to, so it's like, so I'm not like, hey,
You're not
can I tell you
keen.
guys the one time?
Yeah.
It's almost like a cool little thing.
Campfire story.
Yeah, like the environment has to be right. I have to be like at a bar or like at a campfire.
You're like
or,
using it as like a pickup line.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm crazy. Let me tell you this one time.
Yeah. Just this one time. Yeah. So I remember pulling up to the shore with Kashi Baba and Mr. Boat Guy, and I forget his name, but we swam across the river, and Kashi Baba had told us that a lot of dead bodies seem to kind of surface up when people can't afford to pay for the wood, which is a specific kind of wood to burn their loved ones, which is a very positive thing for them to be able to do this. They just dump the bodies in the river, the same river that they wash themselves with, the same river that they drink out of.
Wash their dishes, wash their clothes.
Yeah.
They pee in it.
Yep. And so their immune systems must be just awesome. And so we went across the river, and with the intention to walk along the shore and try and find a dead body so Mr. Kashi Baba can get his payday. Oh, dude. And so we ended up, I remember you and Kyle were behind me, and I was right up against Kashi Baba with the camera, filming his every word and every move. This guy at this point started to become a little bit unpredictable because he flaked on us the first day. And so I was like, all right, what are we getting ourselves into this time around?
Do you remember
looking back
being on the middle of the river and like the overwhelming feeling of like, holy shit, like we're actually doing this. We're going to look for a dead body with this guy.
I'll be honest with you, Dakota. The day that he flaked was my reaction was somewhat of a relief.
Yeah.
But the next day when it was actually happening, and exactly, you pinpoint the exact moment where the suspense started to arise. And I remember, Kyle, you and we had a lot of moments on that boat ride, going up there. So wild to think about. Anyway, I'm up against Kashi Baba, and he starts doing this really ritualistic, as you said, primal prayer, and his eyes, I shit you not, started going inwards into his head.
Do we have this on film?
Yeah, this is all on film. This is all on film. Maybe we can splice it in here or something.
Yeah,
throughout. That'd be easy.
Yeah.
And so Kashi Baba, such a pimp, his eyes started going into his head, and he started doing this prayer thing. And I got really close too, and he didn't mind it at all, which was really cool. But I was really in there, and it was an out of body experience for me because I had to kind of put away. It was almost like a test to myself, as much as they commit these vile acts to I guess go against their egoic tendencies or their egoic propensities. It was like myself, I felt like the same thing, where I had to kind of put my own beliefs, my own preconceived assumptions, and my culture shock aside, so that I can get this on camera and document it for a more altruistic purpose, to kind of show the world and to kind of fulfill on.
I mean, realistically, man, this is some real deep anthropological work in a lot of ways. Like, who is doing this kind of stuff,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's very cool, and I appreciate that you gave me the opportunity and gave
do you remember the mud?
The opportunity.
Every step, your foot would just get stuck in the mud. It was like a horrible little barren wasteland we were kind of in. it was completely different from the other side of the river. Like this side of the river is just like nothing around. It's just kind of like this muddy hell.
I wonder if they were to. I wonder what
And the
would
dead.
happen.
Remember the dead bodies? We saw a dead thing floating in the water, and we were like, oh, there might be something there, but it was just like a
and
dead
it was a monkey leg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I remember when I saw that monkey leg and we started approaching it. We were I looked back at you and I was like, oh dang, this is really gonna happen right now. Is he just gonna meditate on this leg? Can we get a half rate? Can we get a half rate on this? I'm just kidding. But anyway, we continue this journey, and eventually, suspense is so high. We're all really freaked out at this point, and I'm just trying to get this on film so we can get out of there and kind of wrap up the day and film something else. And then Kashi Baba just kind of gives up, and he's like, well, I don't really see anything.
It was monsoon. So all the water was really high. So and the water was really flowing. So any bodies that got thrown in there, they're getting washed up down the river somewhere.
Yeah. So we didn't end up capturing that. Like I said, on one hand, a little a sigh of relief, but on the other hand, a little would have been a cool experience. Not a cool experience, but a very challenging experience. Probably.
And I could have never uploaded that if it actually happened.
Yeah, exactly. It probably just would have been a home movie. Home movie.
that'd be they'd find that in my computer after they fucking catch me doing something sketchy. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, that's wild, man. So that's what happened in India, and a bunch of other stuff.
That's a couple days out of our India trip.
Yeah. The rest of it was pretty chill. We went to try out street food.
We went to Rajasthan.
We went to the Blue City. That's where we met Rajat.
Yep, our homie Rajat, who I actually went back and met again afterwards.
Really?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I love Rajat.
Yeah, I love him all the time. Yep, he's a good guy. He's a great guy. I think he just graduated.
Wow.
Maybe.
I hope he goes on and does amazing things.
Rajat. Yep, our Indian buddy. we taught him the this thing.
Yeah.
What is that called?
He pulled it out on us when we said goodbye.
Perfect
that was
moment.
Such a beautiful moment.
That was such a perfect moment. Yeah, we met an elephant. That was my first time meeting an elephant.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, me too.
Nice.
Yeah, me too.
Rajat's uncle had that camel that we hung out with.
Yeah.
Oh, then we met that one guy. Remember that one guy took us to his farm? We went to the Bishnoi village, and it was the guy. It was the guy driving us around, and then the guy took us to his farm at the end of the day, and we just chilled with this guy on his farm.
Yeah, with his cows.
Yeah, his cows.
His kids.
Yeah, he calls me still on Facebook, and I talk to him sometimes.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
he was real dope. They're very hospitable and very trusting out there.
Yeah, they really want to show foreigners their culture.
Yeah. It's very. I really appreciate that. It's a very.
They get a kick out of showing foreigners their culture just as much as the foreigners get a kick out of seeing it. It's a really funny. It's a really funny exchange.
Definitely, yeah. We went over his house. We drank tea, and we just chatted with him and his friend.
Yeah,
and his kids. And it was a great time. We did a fake opium ceremony.
We did an opium ceremony that didn't do anything. He put the tiniest little bit. Yeah, that's a weird thing. I think about that sometimes. I'm like, what a weird thing I did, slurping opium out of some dude's sludgy little hand.
Yeah.
You remember that? I sucked it out of his hand.
Yeah, that was gnarly.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I guess.
You also drank the Ganges River water.
Did I?
I think you did.
Oh.
Or you washed yourself.
Oh, I would wash myself in it. Yeah, I don't know if I drink it though. Fuck.
Yeah. Okay, so tell them about how you got ashes, human ashes. You took them back with you.
Yeah.
And
okay.
The outcome of that.
Yeah. So Kashi Baba gave me some. Do you remember the point when Kashi Baba was getting the ashes for me and he caught on fire?
Oh, no.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember that. No.
Okay, so Kashi Baba was over at the burning ghats, or they they had just finished burning a body, and he was over there collecting the ashes of the body, and he eventually gave them to me as a gift, as some like weird occult satanic gift. And no, I guess it's a really powerful thing, I guess. I don't know. And
Dakota,
as he was going to scoop these ashes into the newspaper, his robe caught on fire in the back. And I remember I was like, oh man, this is not a good sign. And then he gave them to me.
Yeah, that was kind of poetic.
Oh, the second that happened, I was like,
bad vibes.
Yeah, right. Like this, I'm just gonna wake up and like my fucking backpack's gonna be on fire. But he gave these to me, and I do you remember the guy covered me in ashes too?
Yeah, the guy on the streets.
Yeah, that was just carrying around the top of some human skull filled with ashes.
We gotta show the picture of that guy. Yeah,
crazy guy.
Right here. Yeah. That guy was so cool looking.
He was really cool, and
kind of scary. But then once you started talking to him, he was pretty.
Well,
chill.
man, imagine like being in one of those alleyways at like 2 a.m.
and just running into that guy.
Yeah, and him doing something crazy. But he covered me in human ash, and I remember I went to take a bath after that day. We went and watched the Ganga Aarti. Remember the big ceremony outside?
Yes, that was
really
awesome.
Cool with they did like the candles and like the big horn. But I remember I took a shower after that night to wash the human ash off my face. And in the bathroom was so small that the shower was directly in front of the sink, and above the sink was the mirror. So when you take a shower, if you're facing away from the shower, you're just looking at yourself. So I saw myself covered in human ash, and I was watching the water wash it away off of me. And it was just this weird moment where I was like, I don't know, it's just like, this is a person. Like I was thinking of all the moments I had of me sneaking out of my house and like riding my bike over to meet like my first girlfriends, or just being wild with my friends, and just all the mischief and heartache and all the craziness and chaos that a person goes through in their life. And it's all just being reduced to me washing it off my forehead. And it was just like this crazy trip to just kind of stare at myself as it's being washed away. I'm just like, man, that's what it's all just ends in dust somehow, dust and water.
I remember you articulating that same night as well.
Yeah, that was a really weird moment for me.
And then you took the ashes home.
Yeah, well, allegedly I got the ashes home somehow, and I had a girl that was hanging out, staying the night. She came for New Year's, and we were just being weirdos for New Year's. And she had a dream while she was staying in my room that this Indian guy was choking her. And she said like she couldn't breathe, and like it woke her up. That's how intense it was. It was like a dream where she was like, that it woke her up.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, well, it's probably those ashes. There's something. I probably got some pissed off little Indian guy in here that's just like, you fucking bitch! I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be in Detroit. So I decided that it was just like, I'm not some wizard that's gonna like use these ashes for black magic. I'm not some sadhu that's gonna use these ashes for some Aghori rituals.
Right, they're of no utility to you.
I really don't have any.
Just a novelty.
Yeah, it's a novelty. I have it because it's exotic. Like other than that, I don't need this. Other than like it being like some weird fucking personality trait of me now when people come over, like, hey. But
your pickup line at the bar.
Yeah. Hey, you want to come see my ashes? So
you went back to India.
I decided that they belong in the Ganga. Like they don't belong with me. So I wanted to go back and find Kashi Baba. I thought it was important to find Kashi Baba to complete the ritual. And couldn't find him. And we walked around we stayed in Varanasi for 4 days, looking for Kashi Baba. Yeah, you weren't there. This is a year later.
You went with someone else.
Yep, this is 1 year later, almost exactly. And I was walking and we were getting, it's actually so funny because I just uploaded this video yesterday of all of us. It's me, your mate Tom, and our friend Jamie that we met in India. And we're all just kind of like smoking hash in our hotel room and singing Lion King songs. I just uploaded the video. And then at the end of the video, Tom's like, so should we go get some street food? And that's when the video cuts. And so this is where the Kashi Baba story starts now.
Yeah,
so we go out for street food and we're stoned out of our freaking minds. And even in the video, Tom's like, dude, are you ready to go out? Like, are you ready for this? It's going to be crazy. He made a joke about it. So we go out to this, to get street food. And we're waiting for our street food to get ordered. I forget what, pakoras or something. And you start hearing like, Ram Nam Satya, Ram Nam Satya, Ram Nam Satya. The people are coming. And I was not even paying attention. I don't know. I was engaged in the conversation or something. And the body's coming, and the foot of this body that's wrapped in these orange and white linen just slaps the back of my head. And I was just like, oh man, what is my life? I'm in India trying to return these ashes to the Ganga River. A dead foot just hit me in the back of the head as I'm eating street food. In this tiny little alleyway, there's a cow probably right here. And so we're finished eating our food, and we start walking. I don't know where we're going. We're just walking through the alleyways. And I recognize someone, and I'm like, well, I obviously don't know anybody in India. So I kind of keep walking for a second. And then I'm like, wait a second. And I turn around, and the guy recognizes me also. And it's the boat driver that that introduced us to Kashi Baba. So I'm like, oh man, this is like all so crazy. This whole last 5 minutes has felt like it's just like a movie. Like each scene is like perfect. Me getting hit in the head with a dead foot, this guy, and me looking for Kashi Baba. And this is like the end of our like adventure of trying to find Kashi Baba. We're giving up, and then all of a sudden, this guy's here, and he said Kashi Baba, and I was like, yes, Kashi Baba. I've been looking for Kashi Baba for the past 3 days. And he's like, I'll go try to find him for you. And I was like, okay, where should we meet? He's like, don't worry, just like we'll find each other. And if you remember Varanasi, it's not hard to find. Like you just find the same people every time.
You don't need a phone out there. You just go take a walk around the corner and you just run into whoever you want to look for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
it's pretty cool.
So I end up running back into that guy, and he says, Kashi Baba is in prison. He ripped off a tourist or something. So I was like, fuck, no, God damn it, Kashi Baba.
He's a pimp.
He's a pimp. And so I just decided that like to do it myself. So we all kind of did this own ceremony. And my friend Jamie, he really gave me this pep talk. He was like, man, because I was like, I feel wrong doing it because I'm not like a sadhu. I'm not a holy person. It feels wrong for me to do this. And he was like, if you felt like you were sadhu enough to take those ashes, then you need to be sadhu enough to do this yourself. And I was like, oh, fuck, man. You're right.
It's very poetic.
You're right. Yeah. So we did this beautiful ceremony. We woke up really early before sunrise, and we went out and rented a boat, played some really beautiful music. We like did some prayers and stuff like that, and we just like returned the ashes to the river, and just like my friend was crying and stuff. It was a really beautiful moment.
Wow, you didn't tell me that part.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really awesome.
Yeah, it was nice. The boat driver was probably like, what the fuck are these white dudes doing, man? It's like 6 a.m. They're out here crying.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really beautiful. It was powerful. And it was a good conclusion to that whole story, I think, for me. And I still keep the little container that I had the ashes in. I still keep them where I had the ashes, in the same spot. They're still sitting there. So
yeah.
So I got.
It's so interesting. It's so interesting where all of your interests and things that really gravitate towards you, where they end up taking you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty weird.
I think you are too.
Yeah. But it feels like I don't realize it, because for me, it's just my life. And I just like, I don't know. These are the things I get myself into. And like, I feel when I meet other people and they're just like, I don't know, I just forget that people live such boring lives. Like even you live a crazy life. All my friends live crazy lives. So like when I talk to normies, I'm just like, oh yeah, why don't you do something different?
There's a sense of guilt that overcomes you too when you have these awesome stories and you're hanging out with your friends who for one reason or another they cannot relate, or like there's no parallel. And so so you're like, how have you been? And they're like, oh, I've been good, I've been working this 9 to 5, just real beat every day, how are you? And I'm like,
I'm just in India hanging out with cannibals, looking for dead bodies.
I remember coming back and having those experiences where there was a part of me where I had to kind of shut it down and kind of breeze through it and just be like, yeah, I went on a trip with a friend, we shot some stuff, but tell me about you, how are you doing? And kind of realizing like, those experiences are cool and they're for me and they're for the people that I've experienced it with. And if someone really does want to know about it, they'll ask me.
That's true.
If they don't, and if I go ahead and say it, I don't also want to bring, humans are very easy to compare themselves to other people and stuff. And I'm pretty aware and cognizant of that. And so being emotionally intelligent in that sense of trying to keep certain things like that to myself around certain people that may or may not share the same experiences. But also, on the other hand, that could also inspire them to go ahead and start.
And I think those moments, the proper moments to kind of to drop it as an inspiration or when not to say it. But exactly. I find it so weird that humans just don't recognize their power, because I know if I can do this as like just like a normal dude from Detroit, I dropped out of high school, like I'm not come from any kind of like any special backgrounds or anything, like if I can go out and kind of live exciting life, anyone can do it. But we're still raised with this idea that we have to live a certain way, and that if you don't, there's so much uncertainty. But there's uncertainty no matter what you do in this world, and you're gonna work hard no matter what you do in this world, especially in our society. Our society is very working based society, like even especially as a man, like you're maybe not so much these days, but even just like our parents' generations, your worth is really based on like your work ethic. And still today it is a little bit, especially like in rap music and stuff like that. It's really like the hustle mentality is still there. But I don't know, I just feel like people we need to recognize our power and stop like playing into this system that takes it away from us. Because what happens is they convince us we have no power, so that we like just kind of fall into patterns of working for them. And while doing that, they tell us we have no power, and at the same time, while they say that, it's giving them power. It's almost like this dark magic spell where they're extracting our power by sort of raising us with narratives that take the power away from us. But I don't know, it's just like, man, we can do whatever we want. Anyone can do whatever they want if you really just work hard, because you're going to work hard no matter what. You're going to slave away working for some dickhead at wherever you're working, or you're going to like work hard slaving away like building your own business. So you might as well try. I mean, there's always going to be bullshit jobs out there. There's always going to be bullshit jobs. So, I mean, you might as well like just fucking do something, especially with the internet and stuff these days, man. The possibilities are endless. And
I always tell people
we know so many people that are proof of that. And and all the people that we know that are proof of that are all saying the same thing. Like, just try, man. Just like do it. That's all you got to do. It's just like, nature really appreciates courage. So like put your pants up and like be courageous.
And I always tell people, do it badly. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be perfect right from the start. Whatever your vision of monetizing your work is, whatever your vision is of that, just do it badly. Take one step at a time. You don't have to full send and scale a business up to it. You can literally just start out by making, I guess in your example, making YouTube videos. Now you're connected with sponsors, and you're also opening yourself. The great thing about your form of media is that you get to meet a lot of people through what you do. And that in and of itself is opening up more doors for future opportunities. So you're like planting the seed and then you're watering it. every time you put a video out, and it's just growing and growing and growing. And then eventually you're going to have this whole catalog of videos that are just working for themselves while you sleep.
Yeah, it's hard work.
So, yeah,
it's hard work to build up to that part, but there becomes a part where it becomes, you know, self-sufficient. It's like kind of growing a garden, you know, like you got to put the fucking work in to grow the garden. But then once the shit starts blooming and stuff, and you're just gonna like the fruits are, you're gonna go to sleep, you're gonna wake up, there's gonna be fruit there. Yeah. And I mean, for you too, you know, like it's got to be, it must have took you a lot of hours of dedication to get to where you're at.
It's a lot easier when you are naturally obsessed with something. Like I was obsessed with video editing since I was 11 years old. And also I'm not going to sit here and tell everyone like, oh, you know, you should be, there's a lot of factors at play. Like I had a good support system from my parents. They gave me a computer when I was really young. So that was the first step. They supported me in a lot of ways, both, you know, emotionally and financially. And I'm not going to sit here and like dismiss those ideas and look down on others that don't have the same opportunities. Some people are going to have it harder, but you have to ask yourself like, what, like, you know, is it, you have to negotiate. Is it worth it? Like, is the struggle going to be worth it? These like long nights of learning about this thing so that I can increase my skill set so that I can eventually get this job that I really want. And, you know, I think us talking about what we do, I don't want to also encourage people to think only being a YouTuber, only being a photographer, videographer, you know, think outside of the box. You know, if you want to travel, there are many ways you can travel through different things, different work, you know, like different lines of different industries. And, you know, you can start a blog, you can start a clothing company, much like yourself, stay happy, stay weird. You could volunteer. Exactly. You could join a church and volunteer and you know, do that. And yeah, so I guess you just have to ask yourself, what are you willing to sacrifice? And the other day I went to a bar with a friend, and she was telling me about how she's kind of struggling to like figure out what she wants to do. And so I helped her make a list. And this is a list that I tend to make myself quite often. We made a list of things that she really likes and then things that she's really good at. And we were trying to find connections there. So if you're really good at something and you really like it, it'll be easier for you to get better at that thing. And you're already pretty good, so you're way ahead of that. You know, so it's like, that's kind of a good exercise to find out what.
And a lot of this stuff kind of seems silly sometimes, but when you start doing this, it really, really helps to have these symbols there, to start associating. Like, it's powerful to like to visually see something, because like saying list and stuff like that. Like I remember before I made list, I would just be like, yeah, okay, list.
I'm already thinking it, like it, you know, but when you actually write it down, it's like something changes. You actually bring it into existence, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that the memory of you writing that down, the action, I strongly believe that changes your chemistry in your brain, where that kind of that those words, that symbol of, you know, I would like to buy a house someday, which is a goal of mine. Like I would like to buy a house someday, writing it down, and then it just kind of embeds, and it's the image is embedded in my brain, and now it's like, you know, I'm hoping that the outcome is of subconscious momentum.
Yeah, well, it seems like, so you have this sort of, like you say, I want to buy a house or something. Maybe this is the way the law of attraction works, is that you have like the symbol that you want. I want to make $100,000. You have it marinating in your subconscious, and then it becomes maybe like embedded in your identity that this is your goal, and you start subconsciously seeing the doors and opportunities that you maybe before you would have just kind of shrugged off or maybe not paid attention to, because you didn't have this oriented goal in your back of your head. So maybe that the law of attraction works that kind of way. It's like kind of hijacking your subconscious to associate your experience with the world with your goal. So when you meet someone and they have an opportunity for you, you can engage with that and explore it, instead of whereas before you might have, you know, fucked it off or something.
Yeah, that's very true. And then and the simple action, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the simple action of writing it down means you're going to attain that goal. What it actually means is that you start to put on these glasses through this new reality, because you've articulate it and express that goal. And so then you start noticing, it's almost like when you get a haircut and you realize, you go to school and you realize everybody else got a haircut. And you're like, what the heck? Do you ever have that feeling, or do you ever have that experience?
My hair's so long. I've had long hair. I've had long hair for a long time. But I remember
like when you,
like school clothes shopping or something. You feel all badass and you go to school and you realize everyone went school clothes shopping and you got the dude next to you's got the same shoes. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's almost like a I forget what the category of bias that is, but it's like you notice the things that you are doing yourself.
Like when you're looking at a car online or something, and then all of a sudden the car is everywhere on the road. You just start.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. That's a good example. And so I think that's what it is with writing and articulating goals. It's like when you articulate a goal, you start to see these opportunities come about that you would have been blind to otherwise. For example, a couple days ago, I finished doing my taxes, and it was a nightmare. It was a headache, but in the back of my head, I thought, this is one step closer to buying a house, because if my house is in order with my finances and with the government and everything, it'll just make the whole process of getting a house easier. So my goal at the end of the day wasn't file my taxes, pay the government. My goal was buy a house. This is why I'm doing my taxes. You know what I'm saying?
Where do you want to buy a house at?
I think LA.
Do you daydream? You daydream and like look around online and stuff?
Yeah, all the time. I go on Zillow and like all those websites.
And when is that going to be a realistic possibility for you, you think?
I've said 5 years. I'm saving up I want to buy it with my dad.
Nice. You guys are going to still live together?
Yeah.
And your siblings too?
Yeah, they can. Yeah, it's going to be like a family. I want it to be like a house for my family, something too.
Yeah.
A generational thing, I guess.
Hell
or something, yeah. Like it's like your, if you're traditional, I guess in my culture, it's very, that's very important. I guess in every culture, it's very important to kind of like come to a new country and leave something for the next generation.
That's great.
That's kind of the conversations that I've had with my dad. And so we're really set on that. And he's saving, I'm saving.
And I mean, if you guys can buy a house in the area too, that's a great little piece of land to have. I mean, the market only goes up, in those areas.
Yeah, I love LA too. It's like kind of like, it's always been my home base. I was born in Inglewood, so
Inglewood,
maybe up to no good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good spot for what you do. It's the best spot for what you do.
Yeah, maybe not right now, but I think eventually at some point it'll be, not right now because of the pandemic.
Oh, right.
So opportunities are sparse here.
Do you have any like creative goals that you would like to really hit one day, like make a movie or anything that's like a really big goal, or like maybe work with someone?
Yeah, I would like to build a course. Yeah, like a course. I've always been interested in teaching, and I've always loved it. Like when friends come over, it's such a treat for me to. Friends come over and they also do the same thing that I do, and they ask me questions. It's such a treat for me to help guide them and assist them, because it's actually helping me get better at what I'm trying to accomplish as well. And so I think building a course, I've heard it's a very painful process, but I think it would be very cool to do that someday.
Like a proper, in-depth, what kind of course, like videography or photography?
I've thought a lot about, I'm very fascinated by psychology and the psychology and marketing and stuff. And so my kind of a loose idea that I have in mind is tying psychology with freelance, like the freelance mentality, and kind of a lot of the things that I've talked about right now, like the different techniques that I use to stay productive and stay on track with my goals. I think approaching that from a freelancer's perspective and kind of tying the two of them together would be really cool, and really like, because you can go on YouTube and find technical tutorials on how to do the things that photographers and videographers do. And although those are great and they're very, rational and like they're very logistical, there's plenty of that out there. And I think I would love to bring in some of my personal passions in psychology and philosophy and stuff like that, and bring it together with the freelance world.
And
So,
which part of psychology and marketing, like what part of marketing psychology interests you?
Well, I've always been very interested in getting to know myself a lot better, and then getting to know and increasing my levels of empathy, and getting better at communicating with people and making them feel comfortable around me and stuff. And this is something that has helped me immensely with building my client relationships, always getting, I have a friend who he mixes for issues. Chris, yeah, his name is Chris. Sorry, I forgot his name for a second there. Chris, but he always says, talent isn't enough. Talent isn't enough. And it always stuck with me when he said that. And I was like, what does that mean? Talent isn't enough. Talent isn't enough. It's like, oh, you can be very skilled at what you do. You can be like a master of it. But if you fall short in communication, if you fall short in, having a business call, but also making it personable to make the other person feel comfortable, and just creating a very supportive environment around the project, is something that is very, very valuable to me. And I feel like it's a very good leadership trait to have when you're managing projects and when you're working on a bunch of sort of things. So I would love to bring some of that in there. You asked what was your question?
I'm curious, like what you're interested as far as psychology goes in marketing. Like for me, I find marketing really interesting in the sense of how they manipulate people to sell things. Like that's what I'm interested in as far as the psychology of marketing goes. So like what about that? What are you interested as far as that goes? I mean, I guess like communication is obviously a good one, like how to make people, have you ever read any like neuro-linguistic programming books?
No, I don't think so. What is that?
You never heard of neuro-linguistic programming?
No.
So neuro-linguistic programming is a bit, I mean, there is some legitimate techniques and methods that you can get when you study it. Some people call it kind of like fake science, but it's about like, are you familiar with mirroring? Like you mirror somebody, say like, and even if people do it unconsciously, if you're at a restaurant and you watch people that have a real deep rapport with each other, like people that are in a relationship, good friends, if you watch them, say for example, one person will take a drink, the person across for them will usually mimic and take a drink right after, or their body language will be similar. So you can kind of hijack this and do this when you're conversating with people. You can subtly mimic their body language, and it will tell their subconscious that you are similar to them. And it will build a comfortability, and it will build a sort of like just a warmth when you're, you know what I mean?
Okay. So is that okay? So is that like what that's called, neurolinguistics?
That would be a neurolinguistic programming technique.
Okay. So yeah, I do read a lot of neurolinguistics,
but never like under that name.
Books.
But never under like the NLP name.
No.
Okay.
I never knew it.
It's interesting. Yeah, you should look into it under that, like when it's packaged that way, because it's all about this kind of stuff. Like,
it's very cool.
What else is another good one? Like tones, matching people's vocal tones. That one makes people feel like you are relatable to them.
Saying people's names.
Saying people's names saying people's names works as a few different things. It depends how it's delivered. It can be an authoritative thing. Like if you want to sort of make someone feel small or take a position of authority, you can say someone's name, because that's kind of like, think about your parents yelling at you, your principal yelling at you or something.
Right.
And a lot of like
Dakota James Wint. Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that. James.
That's not your middle name, is it?
But yeah, so I mean, or if you say it sweetly, I think it can be a really warming thing. And touching people is another one.
Touch is a big thing. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, all of that is extremely important to me, and I've realized that, I think
it works.
It does work, yeah. And when you realize it works, it's kind of a cool thing. It's almost like, whoa.
Yeah, it's like you're a hacker. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And if you're unapologetic about it, it's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do
you have to get comfortable with it.
Do you watch Russell Brand ever?
I do.
Do you watch him for charisma inspiration?
I watched his, I've seen like the Charisma on Command videos, and I've also seen like the separate TV show interviews where he comes out and his
just
space, he takes up so much space, unapologetically.
is brilliant.
He's very articulate. He doesn't waste a sentence, or quite the opposite. He says a lot, not really saying anything, but he says it in a very charming way.
And he uses the touching in an interesting way. He uses it as a way to dominate the conversation. He will be really, have you ever watched him touch people? Like when he grabs people's legs and their shoulders and stuff?
Well, I've only seen him like in a talk show setting, and I probably have seen.
Oh man, you got to get in. You have to get into him because he is like completely, politicians are trained in this kind of stuff we're talking about, and he is trained to this stuff to like the highest degree, and you can see it when he interacts with people. Like if you really watch his body language and stuff, it's taught. I mean, I'm sure it's unconscious at this point, but it's all was maybe taught in acting class or something like that. But he will grab people's legs and shake their leg, or like put his hand on their shoulder, and it's just so unapologetic, and it throws the people off from their conversation. He completely can like control the conversation that way.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really badass, and he's a really interesting person to look into if you're interested in sort of conversational, I don't know, manipulation, I guess. I don't know.
I like the recent stuff he's been doing too.
What's he been doing recently?
He's
YouTube?
really gotten into like spiritual. Yeah, he's really gotten into like spirituality.
Yeah, I love
he's got a lot of like intellectual. He's got like a lot of intellectual guests, like authors and scientists and psychologists and stuff like that. Again, he's a very, although you might know him from his past from being very talkative and taking up a lot of space, but in his podcasts, he's brought that down, and I was listening to a podcast he did today with this guy. I can't remember his name, but the podcast was about I think this book called Awaken Now, and Russell Brand maybe said like maybe spoke for a collective 4 minutes. The whole podcast, he was just silent and listening to his guests, and it was really cool. It was like, whoa, like though I do love listening to Russell Brand, I was listening to the video for this specific guest, and he kind of respected that. I really like that.
I need to send you some. Would you watch some videos if I sent them to you? You trust my judgment?
Of course.
I want you to watch these Darren Brown videos. This guy is.
You told me about him.
Did you ever watch him, or
the magician, the sleight of hand dude?
He's a psychological magician, but he uses these techniques that we're talking about, like these NLP techniques. He uses them to manipulate people to the highest degree. He'll go into a store and buy shit and pay the dude with paper, and the guy will like be so bombarded with like his little methods and stuff that he'll just take the paper, and like it's really interesting to watch, and it's all real. It's all legitimate stuff. He's like he's really into psychology, and he's got like on his website, he's got like a recommendation of books to check out, so you can kind of get an understanding of how he does this stuff. And I bought some of his books, and I've read his books too. You might like his book. It's one of his book called Tricks of the Mind, I believe. It's a really interesting book, and it's all about like mnemonic techniques, like how to learn things crazy, and it's really cool. It's a really cool book. You might dig it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that stuff. Yeah, send it over.
Yeah, I'll send it over. But Russell Brand too, man. That's like I would love to have Russell Brand on the podcast. That's one of my heroes, and I mean, from a spiritual perspective, he finds such a way to deliver things that like I never heard anyone so poetically and effortlessly deliver these profound realizations.
Listening to him, I have so many moments where I have to pause the video and take it in, because he's unlocked like the way he expresses himself and the way he expresses the things that he talks about. He has a way of unlocking these hidden truths already in your brain. These are things that to be true, but you can't express them, so they're very abstract in your brain. So he expresses them in a way where he makes them tangible, and you're like, oh, this concept is not so abstract anymore.
Yep.
So I have to pause the videos or the podcasts that I listen to by him every now and then to try and process everything, because it's such a flood of knowledge and value.
Yeah.
So it'd be really cool if you had him on.
I don't know how it's possible, but maybe one day.
Yeah.
Who would you like to have conversations with if you could like at your dinner table? Who would be like your couple guests you could invite?
That's a good question.
Dead or alive, doesn't matter. Any point in history. Yeah, it'd be hard. Let me think of mine too. Let's see. Some genius like Nikola Tesla would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I can't. There's so many names that are coming up, but I think it's just because of my love for what they've made. So I guess that's okay. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Like Tom York, I would love to sit down and have a chat with Tom
Who's that?
York, the singer of Radiohead.
Oh, okay, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I've heard many tales of people that I know that have run into him at like parties and like a park bench. Some guy told me in San Francisco once because they were playing a festival there. I guess they were there the day before, but they all tell me he's incredibly hilarious, and I've always been such a huge fan of his solo stuff and all the stuff he's done with Radiohead, of course. And so I would love to just listen to how he thinks and like his process and end it all. So yeah, that's my answer. Tom York of Radiohead.
Jesus, the Buddha, those guys would be pretty cool.
Oh, Jesus would be sick. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like ask him like, I wonder how much shit is real and how much is fake about him. He's probably like, nah, none of that shit's fucking real, man.
It's a metaphor.
He's like, Jesus, you know they wear crosses now. I know you died on one. You're gonna be pretty upset when you come back and see that they're all just rocking them.
Yeah. Yeah, Jesus would be pretty cool.
Yeah, Jesus would be cool.
A lot of pressure.
Hitler would be an interesting one too.
That came to mind, and I wanted to say it, but I also felt a little.
Yeah.
I felt more overcome by the idea of talking to Tom York than Hitler.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be interesting. Just to explore the dark side of humanity and to get into someone's. I mean, dude, it's interesting when you watch those Louis Theroux documentaries.
Oh, I love Louis Theroux. He's the best. He's that's what I would really like to turn my YouTube channel into, something like that.
Yeah, I love the documentary he did where he stayed with the Nazis.
Yeah, man, I love it. It's brilliant.
And it's like this dark, this morbid curiosity that you have watching this, trying to understand how these people think.
And he's so objective, but he also finds a way to make themselves look dumb without doing anything.
He doesn't do it by. The way he does it, and I've thought about this a lot, but the way he does it, and it's so amazing, is that he, instead of declaring something, he suggests it in a way, in a question. So instead of being like, I don't agree with that, that's not okay, he'll say, do you think that's okay? Turn to someone else who's like a part of whatever ritual they're doing, you know? It's like, what do you think about this? Do you think that's okay? Kind of being like, you know,
he's in control. He passes the ball.
Yeah, and seeing like kind of like judging the room a little bit, or he'll go like, don't you think some people might be offended by that? Not saying I'm going to be offended by that, but he does. Don't you think some people might be offended by this? While the twin, remember the Nazi documentary where the little twin sisters, the little girls?
I don't remember the Nazi one too well. I remember like them being outside in a kind of garage or something like that.
Yes, that was intense.
Yeah. Do you remember the pedophile one?
I never watched that one.
That's a good one too. That's an interesting one.
I'll check that one out.
He went to a rehabilitation center for pedophiles and just sort of talked to them. And it was really interesting to see how they think, and they're all in recovery, and they're all like, it's almost like a 12-step thing. So they're like admitting that they're in recovery, and they call themselves like addicts, and it's really interesting. Wow. And some of them have pictures of like little kids on the walls, and he's like, should this be okay when you guys are in recovery?
The way he does it?
Yeah.
That's so awful. But
what's another good one he did?
He did. I like the heroin one, the heroin addicts.
I don't remember that one too. Did you ever see Russell Brand's old Brand X doc? Like he did this thing called Brand X. It's when he was on like crack and heroin. He got a hand job from a guy in a bar. He went into a bar to see if he could get a hand job from someone. And I think he wanted to see if he was gay, is what it was.
Okay.
So he wanted to get a hand job from a guy. So he went to a bar and convinced a guy to give him a hand job. They go into the bathroom, and the guy gives him a hand job.
Wow.
So that's one of the episodes. And then another episode, Russell's hanging out with some skinheads, and he kind of does the same thing Louis Theroux does, where he's just kind of talking to them. He does one where he goes on a date with an old lady, and he like makes out with her and stuff like that.
Whoa.
It's really funny.
He's really out there, man, and it's
really
kind of crazy hearing him.
To me.
It's kind of crazy hearing him talk about his past now, and kind of like in a form of I wouldn't say regrets, but in a form of like him
growth,
feeling like growth, exactly, and realizing that he had a lot of what's the word, like egoic tendencies, and his he was like he claims himself to be a recovering narcissist, and it's cool to have that level of self-awareness. If you've seen this right now, I really admire you, Russell Brand.
Have you ever done any psychedelics before?
Yeah, I did shrooms in Amsterdam recently.
Was that interesting for you?
Well, I've done it before. I did it in Texas, in the middle of Texas. I was on tour with Kuko, and we had some shroomies, and so we did some shrooms there, and that was a really cool experience. I cried.
Kuko is they're like the Mexican band, right? Didn't you?
Yeah.
Like a Mexican pop band or something, pop punk band, or rock and roll or something.
No, they're like it's hard to describe, but they're like indie rock, I think, with a bit of.
Are they a family?
No. They're just really good friends. I grew up with them. We kind of went.
And they're really popular, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kuko's the singer. He's like the one guy. The rest of the band is like they're the live band.
Right.
Yeah. So that was really cool. But anyway, we did shrooms in Texas, and it was it was a good time, even though the circumstances were real sketchy. We were like in a part of Texas that was kind of very racist. We drove by like Confederate flags, and all of us being like people of color, we were sort of in this paranoid state of mind, like, okay, anything can happen here.
Yeah.
So we went to like this lake house, and we took shrooms, and we just kind of like sprayed each other with like water guns. We watched fireworks. It was 4th of July of last year. It was a really great time. And I remember I was sitting on the grass on this lake house, looking out into the waters as the fireworks were happening. And it was such an intense feeling of euphoria. And then I peripherally saw a raft, like a raft. It was an orange raft. And it reminded me of my childhood for some reason. Like the raft represented like the family trips I used to go on with my dad and my mom and my siblings to Lake Paris. And we would rent out these rafts to go into the water. And this really, this brought out some really like intense emotion in me. And I started to cry. Just this raft made me cry. Not the fireworks, not the water, just the raft is what really made me cry. And I wasn't like, but it was just, they kept flowing, and it was just like I was letting it happen. I wasn't resisting. That was a really beautiful experience.
Yeah, it is.
But and the other times that I did it, it was in Amsterdam. I did it once in Amsterdam last year, and then I did it again this year. Same city, Amsterdam. Both times were not a good time. There was a lot of stimulation. I was in a lot of it was an uncomfortable situation both times because of I think like the last time I did it, I woke up really late. Like I woke up like real late, like embarrassingly late, and it was on tour. So but it was an off day, so you're kind of allowed to do those things when it's an off day. But I woke up embarrassingly late, and there's a part of me that when I do that, I feel really, really, really guilty, and I think about I think about like what other people think of me a lot, and I get really insecure. I think like, oh, everyone thinks I'm lazy. Everyone thinks I don't work hard. Those sorts of things start to come up in my mind. Even though I had stayed up the night before cranking out some video, so I probably in one sense had a good reason to sleep in. But on the other hand, there was still that part of me, that dialogue that was kind of challenging me in a way. So I met up with Philip, or Flip, who he's like the guitar tech, and we went to one of the coffee shops, is what they call it. Essentially, it's like they call it coffee shops, but they sell you shrooms and weed and stuff.
They're truffles, right? They're not actual mushrooms.
Exactly. Yeah. There we go. Truffles. So I bought some, so did he, and we took them and we started walking around the city.
Amsterdam is beautiful too.
It's very beautiful, and it was very beautiful, and it started to rain, and water started to kind of pile up on my glasses.
Yeah.
And I can't see without my glasses, so I couldn't just like take them off and just walk around. I had to kind of wear them. So I kept doing this thing where I kept like, cleaning my glasses because they kept getting like filled with water, and this made me insecure. Like really insecure. I was like, oh, like I can't see, like there goes my safety net. Like you need to see to kind of like walk around and stuff. And so that went into, I woke up really late, like I'm really lazy, like all these kind of, this internal dialogue that was kind of negative, which says a lot about where I probably was at the time, touring nonstop, burnt out, not sleeping very well, not eating very well. And maybe all of it just kind of hit me all at once, and so I had to go back to the bus. I had to check out. I was like, hey, Phil, or Flip, I have to go back to the bus. I need to chill out, dude. And so I went to the bus, I sat down and I tried to do some work. I was like, oh, I'm going to channel this negative energy into something creative. And then I got an email for like an offer for like a really big offer for a tour that didn't end up happening because of Corona. This was back in March, by the way, or February. And I remember feeling the feeling of feeling insecure and like not enough overcoming me through these shrooms or these truffles, and then seeing this email like kind of showing up in my face. I had this sense of imposter syndrome where I was like, why am I getting these offers when I'm the kind of guy that wakes up at super late and whatever, like such a dumb kind of train of thought that my brain went into that day. And so I closed the computer, and then the rest of the guys came in because they were all kind of walking around too, and they were kind of like, hey, we're gonna go get some food if you want to come with us. And they were joking around. They were also like in their world smoking weed or whatever. And so I was like, okay, like I need to get out and like be with friends and kind of be in that environment. And literally when we went out and we all kind of had a great time and we all caught up about what we did that day, it put me in a better place. And yes, that was like my first experience was really cool. My second experience, which was in Amsterdam last year, was not very good, but I was still holding on to that first experience. And then the third time, which was this recent time, was like, okay, this is, maybe there's something here, like maybe there's a problem that I need to fix before I try this, go into this again. And so these last couple of months, taking a break from touring and being a full-time video editor now has been really sick because I get to have that balance in my life, and I'm not working till like 6 a.m. and waking up at 8 a.m. and doing that kind of thing anymore. And I've realized the value that there is in taking care of yourself and your body and eating healthy and working out and setting business hours for yourself and sticking to those hours and setting family time and doing that and stuff. And so I think if I were to do it again, I would probably have a much better experience now than I did back in February.
Yeah. Did you know that like in Guatemala and Mexico, there's both traditions, like deep ancestral traditions of taking mushrooms? They find like these old mushroom statues and stuff in Guatemala that are probably like 1,000 years old. So there's, oh shit, my phone's full. But there's like there's a really deep history of taking mushrooms. Would you ever do something like that? Like do it ceremonially? Mushrooms?
I don't know, man. I think it's hard to say. I think I'm past that now. I think it was like a point in my life where I was looking for answers in places that maybe are too powerful for me to take on. And yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't know if I would. I don't know if I'd be down for that, but I'd be down to film you doing it. Yeah. I don't know if I would ever put myself in a situation like that again, to be honest. Not that like I don't appreciate those experiences, but I think I'm becoming more and more aware, and then all of these, awarenesses are coming up,
Yeah.
are intensified through
I understand.
through these kinds of things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely know what you're saying.
So you went to Peru. You had the ayahuasca experience. Was it kind of like that, where it was challenging you would challenge you in a way?
Yeah, sometimes it's pretty challenging. It's challenging physically because sometimes you're puking and you feel really kind of like just like, oh shit, like you feel bad,
Yeah.
And it's powerful stuff, you used to see all kinds of strange visions and weird emotions come up, and things you haven't thought about in a long time come up, and things you thought didn't bother you actually kind of realize, like, you know what, actually is kind of bothering me. And you kind of get to experience the things that you go through in daily life through a different place. It's kind of like you're outside looking into your own thoughts, and through being able to be that outside perspective, it's really healing because you can see your bullshit, you can see the way that you're acting, and you can see things that you can't see when you're living in it. Like when you're in it, you don't notice it, but when you can, like your friends can point it out to you, and for somehow
we don't account for those other states of consciousness that reveal us what we're blind to in this specific state of
and
consciousness.
somehow ayahuasca shows you that, and mushrooms and other things show you that too. But ayahuasca has a really powerful way of like zooming you out and then zooming you into yourself. It's really powerful. It's a really powerful experience. And I think like, I wish we had more connections to those kind of ceremonies, because it's clearly, we haven't had much science on it because of the war on drugs and stuff like that. But now that it's, some cities and stuff are starting to legalize these things, and they recognize the healing capacities that things like mushrooms have for people with PTSD or with people that are dying, and it helps them overcome the fear of death and gives them overwhelming, acceptance and stuff like that of their life. Most people will call these experiences the most profound experiences in their life. You ask some of these old hippies, like, what's your favorite drug? And they'll be like, ayahuasca. And you'll be like, oh, really? How often do you do ayahuasca? And they'll be like, I did it like once in the 80s. So like these things are so powerful that sometimes you only really need to do it one time, and it can change your life.
Yeah, Dakota, that's what I will say. Like, these experiences were very challenging, and they were good. Like, I don't regret them at all, because they revealed to me a lot of things that I wasn't doing that I was supposed to be doing. And for that, I see like the value in it a lot.
Yeah.
And maybe for that reason, I might try it again.
Well, what I was going to say is that like being in Peru.
Yeah, sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's okay. The way that the whole thing makes the whole ayahuasca experience is amplified because of the ceremony. It's because of the pilgrimage of wherever you're from being from Detroit, making my way to the jungle. And there are these shamans that literally, this is what they really do. It's not like some bullshit that they're doing to impress you. Like, they come from a long lineage of a tribe that has been doing this as their spiritual sacrament. And they are sharing their ceremonies and that spiritual sacrament with the world, because they really believe that it heals people, and people really do get healed from it. So I think like if we had these type of foundations when it came to mushrooms and stuff like that, the experience would be so much different. Like when you have, like when it's all everything is built to amplify healing and the spiritual aspect of it, instead of just being like chilling with your friends and like being in a situation that could maybe make you feel uncomfortable, and that uncomfortability gets amplified, and then all of a sudden you're like in the fetal position or something, So like I think it's really important for there to be ceremony with these things. I mean, unless you're just taking it to get fucked up, then like whatever. But like if you really want to have like a beautiful experience from it, and like explore what it means to be an individual and to be a human being, and to explore what states of consciousness are available to us when we just like eat something, then I think like having a ceremony is the best way to do it, because it really it can become the most profound thing that, you know, it'd be something you carry with you for the rest of your life.
That's real. That's real. I agree with that, and I think the settings that I tried these things in, I wasn't in the proper headspace, and the environment didn't.
Well, that's why I think it would be cool for you to do it in Mexico or something that's like, that's just, you know, like what your bloodline has been doing for thousands and thousands of years, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the spirituality of your people. That's like, not only that, it's like the spirituality of all people. Like these, us and our connection to the plant queendom is like the original religions and stuff like that. You know, when we were out there exploring with plants, and then all of a sudden we take a plant that gives us a mind-blowing experience. This is how religions start. And,
yeah, totally. There's something to that. I met this, had this Uber driver recently who was 72 years old, and he told me that he was retiring soon. He was going back to Maui. That's where he's from. And I asked him about his life, because he's an old man. He probably had a lot of cool stories to share. And he said he gave 5 years of his life to like intense yoga and meditation at a temple or something. He lived there, he ate there, he slept there, he worked there. And work as there too. And so he told me once on a very deep meditation session, he was meditating for like a long time. He had an out-of-body experience. He had like a psychedelic experience where he saw himself from above meditating for like a good 5 minutes. And so my question that came to mind was, you know, I thought in terms of a parallel between that and my experiences through psychedelics. And I thought, is there more value in like having the discipline to sit down and meditate for years, and then reach those levels of consciousness, those other states of consciousness that are not accessible to us as we are now? Is there more value in that than potentially, as some people might describe it, like taking a shortcut through things like psychedelics?
Some people say that. I don't agree with it. I don't think psychedelics are a shortcut at all. I think it's some real hard work. And I think what the psychedelic does is inspires you to see the path of where the work needs to be done. Like if I didn't take mushrooms when I took mushrooms for the first time, like it shows you your bullshit, so you know where to work on. Like you can't, like we can hide from ourselves pretty easily in the normal states, but like in these, when the mushroom is like, when you're hanging out with the mushroom, it shows you undeniable parts about yourself that like you're like, yeah, you know what, like fuck man, I really hide this down, and I do need to change this to myself, because I can see now how it's impacting my relationships, or you know, it's impacting my well-being. So yeah, I forgot what we were talking about. What were we saying?
No, no, I was just making a comparison.
Oh yeah, no, you were saying, yeah, is it a shortcut or not? Yeah, no, I don't think it's a shortcut, because I think you still end up doing hard work from it. And I think in a time right now, we don't have time for everyone to go be yogis and spend years doing this discipline. It's like, it's time to wake up now. We need solutions where we can, that no matter who you are, you can take any random dickhead off the street, any preacher from the church, you can take anyone from any culture and give them mushrooms under a certain circumstance or a certain setting,
situation.
Yeah. And no matter what their beliefs are, they're going to have an experience that can be profound if it's guided that way. So I think like this is the time where we really need to like be paying attention to these shortcuts and to these things, because like we don't have time, man. It's like, it's time to wake up. It's time to examine our position on this planet, because we aren't even anywhere near paying attention to that kind of stuff. And these things do that. And I mean, yeah, for some people, I think like I bow my head to the people that are out in the jungles and out in the caves right now that are just like meditating. But like, it's not
totally
for normal people, you know, we need something else to get there.
This might be a bit of a vulnerable question, so feel free not to answer it, but I wanted to ask you, what were some of the things that these ceremonies revealed to you that you knew you needed to fix? Maybe some people might be able to relate, or they might be able to wake up from their own blindness and biases that they have through having such a strong sense of their self.
Well, I remember one time during ayahuasca, you know, I have an interesting relationship with my dad. in the sense like I don't really have any relationship with him. And I find that there is some anger and resentment that I kind of carry with me, and I don't really even realize maybe that that's where it's coming from. You know, like there might just be, there's just like some aggression that's just lingering in my body, and I maybe didn't realize that that's what the source of it was. And ayahuasca really it was like showing me my dad, but it was showing my dad from, like I said, it's like you're able to see it from a new perspective. I'm not seeing the symbol of my dad being processed through all my hatred and stuff, or whatever whatever my bullshit is with him. I was able to see him objectively and see, like, it's just like a dude going through life, and like some shit happened, and like this is just the way he ended up dealing with it, and like it's not as personal as I take it, even though like he could be better, and like you should be a good dad to your kid, like that's you should do that. But it's also, I can understand, I was able to understand from a new place where it's like I get it, even though like I don't agree with it, I get it. And that was a huge release for me. And there was one time, this is another one that really sticks with me. It was a mushroom trip that I just kind of took by myself after a breakup. I was already kind of like a weirdo at this point and recognized that like mushrooms could help you overcome things. So I was like, I'm really fucked up over this breakup. I'm going to take these mushrooms and hopefully like it'll help me get over it or something. And I had these visions of these little demon gnome looking things, and they were hopping around me, pointing at me and laughing at me, and basically like saying like, fuck you. And they were saying like, they would like throw it, almost like a baseball being whipped at my face, but it would be something that I did to someone. They would say like, look what you did. And it would hit me like a baseball in the face. Like,
whoa.
And they would say, you did this to this person. And look at how your behavior is having this impact on the people in your life. Like, you said this to this person, and that little insult or that little whatever you said to that person was like a seed in their mind, and it followed them and grew as they walked through their life. And like some demon or like some insecure ghost that I gave this person, it just kind of followed them. Like maybe like I was a dick to my girlfriend or something, and I yelled at her and I made her feel like shit about herself. That it showed me how me doing that is like, it's real. It was like hurting her on like a spiritual level, and it was showing me like it's just like, I don't know, I can't really explain, but I was able to see like the impact that my actions had on people on like a really, really, really deep level. And like I was crying and stuff.
Wow.
And these little fucking creatures, these little gnomes, were the ones that were showing it to me. And but I woke up and I was like, man, I gotta be a better person. Like I have to be conscious of the way that I'm talking to people. I have to be conscious of the way I'm delivering my messages to people, because like sometimes that shit it turns into traumas for people. I mean, it happens to all of us, there's so many moments where someone has said something so kind of stupid and insignificant that to them, that like it was to me, like I was like, oh fuck, man, like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
For me, it was like realizing that I was very kind of growing up, I was very, very, very insecure about my weight, which was really never, now that I think about it, I wasn't even like super, things could have been worse, but my weight was real, kind of a real big part of my life. Like I would always kind of wear really big sweaters and jackets to try and like hide my rolls and stuff like that. But now like I'll walk around with a t-shirt on, something I would never do before. Yeah. Proudly, it's like all these like different insecurities that would just come about just through like growing up and just being stupid and not really like thinking how insignificant those things are, and nobody really cares. They're paying attention to themselves. Realizing that and how that manifests itself into me becoming really self-absorbed and taking up a lot of time, taking up a lot of space in a conversation and talking a lot about myself.
Yeah.
All the time. I think all of that, like, it's what I started to realize, not through these psychedelic experiences, so to speak, but over time, kind of on the same topic of
just kind of being through self-aware and just traveling and yeah.
Totally, man. And so I learned to appreciate having more empathy and in the sense of like channeling that inner narcissist outward a bit more, and giving other people, not having. Another thing too is like feeling in our industry, there is a lot of, the culture is very much about expressing your importance and like what value you have to provide to other people, because it's a dog world in the music industry. And if you don't make your importance known, someone else will come and take up that spot, and then you lose a gig or whatever, So I would go to like parties or networking events and stuff like that, and I would immediately go and approach people and let them know what I did, and they would ask me questions about how I got there and stuff. And it was very like self-fulfilling and self-absorbed way of approaching it. But in a sense, it was like, I thought it was my way of kind of being like, oh, I'm networking. This is how I do it. I have to prove my credibility here. Right. And then I remember one time I went to a party with Tyler Carter in Atlanta. Tyler, remember Tyler? Tyler, of course.
Yeah, you unfollowed me on Instagram.
He unfollowed me on Twitter. It's okay. And so I went to a party, and there were some girls at the party, and they kind of immediately asked me for my Instagram handle. And we kind of like traded handles. And at the time, I guess I still do, I had a lot of followers. And she asked me like, oh, what do you do? Like, why do you have so many followers? And I was like, oh, well, I'm a music photographer. I've done such and this. I've done this and that. And I was with Trent.
Jimmy Kimmel.
And I was with Trent, who's Tyler's fiance. And he was also kind of like, I remember kind of glimpsing at him, and him also being in a position where he was kind of like trying to prove himself at this party, because there were other people at this party that we thought that they were cool too, like we wanted to be friends with them. And this was kind of our way to connect with them. On the car ride back, I was actually talking to Tyler and Trent about this, and I was like, I really felt like I needed to prove myself in there. And Tyler went, Tyler's very, like, he's very successful, and he's very famous and stuff. And so he was like, you guys don't need to prove yourselves. Like, come as you are. And I don't know if he remembers himself saying this, because it was such a kind of in the moment kind of thing. And we talked about something else afterwards, but that really stuck with me. And he said, like, you guys just come as you are. If they like you, that's fine. If they don't, who cares? Just come as you are. I've been there before, but at the end of the day, like, you don't need to prove yourself.
Yeah.
And that like really hit me for some reason. This was years ago. And then ever since then, when I'm at a party or an event or something, I rarely talk about myself unless I'm asked to talk about myself. And it feels really good when they ask about you, because it's actually, if they're asking, that means they really, really want to know about you.
Instead of you just like vomiting it onto them.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's something that I've learned over time to deal with, and to silence the inner narcissist a bit.
Well, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful note to end on. I think we have to end because my camera keeps running out of space, because I got a separate camera right here. So it's like better quality. My SD card keeps running out of space. But we can do another one of these whenever you want. Like I want to do as many podcasts as I can. So like,
okay,
whenever you want, we can do one a couple days, next week, whenever you want.
Let's do one in the next 30 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, let me dump all this footage out, and I'll call you back in 5 minutes.
I'm just kidding. Dude, yeah, this was fun. I
think we did almost 2 hours.
Did we?
Yeah.
Whoa. It went by fast.
Yeah, that was a fast one. Yeah, we'll do another one, and we'll get some cool guests, and like I don't know. I'll try to think. We can try to get Tyler around or something and talk shit to Tyler.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Russell Brand.
Yeah, we'll get Russell Brand.
Let's get Russell Brand and Kashi Baba.
Yes. Kosha Dills. You remember Kosha Dills? He's been wanting to come on.
Yes, of course. Oh, really? You should have him on.
Yeah, we'll have him on.
Cool. He's tight.
Well, is there anything you want to promote or anything? Anything you want to say to my YouTube channel?
If you guys are looking for a video editor, I'm a full-time video editor now, I guess. So hit me up. No, but I guess follow me on Instagram, TheWorkOfJar. I'm on Twitter, but rarely engaged, so you probably don't want to follow me there.
Some presets, some good photo presets for anyone that wants like some cool like overlays for their photos?
The site is still under maintenance. I'm rebuilding the site, so they're not available until like August. So I guess just follow me on Instagram.
Well, that's only a couple weeks, so that's not bad.
Yeah, yeah. But follow me on Instagram. That could be cool.
The Work of Jar.
Yeah, it's funny because this whole conversation, when I go on podcasts, usually the conversation is about what I do and like the equipment and like kind of like talk shop. So this was a very I appreciate you for making this a kind of a change of pace typically, and we can talk about other things other than talking shop.
Yeah, well, we'll talk shop too one of these times. All right. Well, I love you. It was good talking to you, and
love you too, brother.
Yeah, we'll do this soon.
All righty.
Catch ya.